All right. Welcome back, Lucci, Ben, and our lovely viewers. Today we're going to talk about hiring. Very stressful process. We're going to give you some tips on how to hire the right people, but more importantly, how to not hire the wrong people. As we all know, hiring the wrong people is really expensive, and sometimes it takes months to figure out that you've actually hired the wrong person. So with that, I'll turn it over to you guys. What are your thoughts?
I think it starts with the kind of the advert, the job posting, like the description of the role and using that as a kind of a gateway or a quality gate to getting the right person. So I've seen I've seen job roles or job descriptions which emphasize like way too much of one kind of thing over another, like must have this qualification and this qualification and this qualification, but talk nothing about kind of experience or thought nothing about behaviors that you might exhibit. So I think it's about making sure it's hard. I think it's about making sure that you are covering all bases in that job description.
Do you usually focus on primarily on the task oriented, like skills regarding the job, and do you also focus on the interpersonal skills and also the motivations that person may have?
Yeah, I think a great question, Lucia. I think it means that so even before we get to the interview stage. So obviously, when we get to the interview stage, we get to kind of to probe kind of their understanding about the role and the behaviors they exhibit. But even at this job posting, I think yes, I'm looking to attract the right kind of person, so they understand the role which I am recruiting for. And to kind of bring out integral into this from an integral perspective, we might use, let's say, a 4-quadrant perspective. So I might include kind of like, make sure you are the right person for the role, like make sure that you are good at working within teams or with different stakeholders or difficult stakeholders. I might talk, are you proficient at the way in which we do this role? So do you have the necessary domain knowledge to do the role, whether that's product ownership or Scrum Mastery or Agile coaching? And what's your past kind of, achievements, and how do they measure up against what we want to achieve as a team? So I think about using a 4-quadrant perspective, even at the point, yes, we could do that in an interview, but I would also say we should be doing that as part of the job descriptions, because honestly, we tend to get oversubscribed with people who are bad fit for roles just because they look at the title of the role, they call themselves the same thing as the title of the role, they hit the apply button, and then all of a sudden we've got hundreds of applicants. I would rather not weed through hundreds of applicants. I would rather have 50 or 20 high quality applicants than have 200 low quality applicants that I have to weed my way through. So setting out our stand at the job posting stage and doing that by using a 4-quadrant perspective, I think is I found to be useful.
It'd be even better if we had only one applicant and it was the perfect person.
Wouldn't it just? But what do you? I mean, does that, Lucci? Does that ring true to your experience?
Yes, in my experience, it is very important. Like yes, that the those skills that have to do with the task and with the job specifically that person may perform. And at the same time, it is important to understand like the left-hand side of the quadrants, because you need that person like to be aligned with your culture or the culture of your team. That's very important, because when things get tough, that's when those things that are inside of us like come up front, and that's the kind of people that you may need in your team, that are committed and that their values are aligned with the values of the organizations of your team. So I think it has to we have an integral approach when hiring people. And we ask questions that maybe are disruptive. And we also ask questions, for instance, I don't know, what would you do in this situation? That's maybe typical, but at the same time, more personal things. No, what is it that you are passionate about? Like to understand more about the person. That when you only say, okay, these are my achievements, there's a lot of information that maybe you do not share. And that's also an opportunity for a person like to be able to open to the interviewer and to get to know them better. It's an opportunity for me, like to have those questions that may move the person out of the comfort zone, but at the same time, I think it's something that may benefit them.
Yeah, yeah. So I think so when we talk about the job posting, then do you? I mean, really, like we're assuming that people are oversubscribed. Like these roles are oversubscribed, right? So we might get 100 applicants or 200 applicants. I mean, for me, I almost think like I want someone to look at my job description and say, "Ooh, I don't want to do all of that kind of lovey-dovey stuff," or "I don't want to do all that soft stuff," or "Ooh, I don't like the way this person is too focused on delivery." Like I need someone who's focused on all of those things. So if they pick up a job description which is different from other job descriptions, and they're like, oh, I don't like the idea of that, then that's a win for me, I think. Does that ring true to the both of you, or am I being too short-sighted?
No, you're getting specific. And I think the other error that we see oftentimes is they're like, oh, well, you need to be able to do this and you need to be able to do this. And what else should we add to this thing? And they run around and they go, well, what's this person going to need to do? And then it's a job description posted by committee where, in fact, it's starting to read like 3 people. I can't tell you how many job descriptions I've read that was like, oh, you want a scrum master and a product owner and a developer all in the same person. Well, good luck with that.
Yeah.
And I have a question because in the consulting side of the business, many times a lot of things may occur that won't be in the job description. Like we don't know what's gonna happen. And in your experience in the Agile world, that is something that may occur, or it is very relevant, like to specify that the tasks and everything that they need to do.
So let me be clear, understand the question, Luci. You're saying like, do we need to check that people are open enough to be able to adapt to change? Is that what we were saying?
Yes, and if there's room in the Agile world for that.
Yeah, I think absolutely. I mean, like it's Agile, right? It's responsive to change at its heart. So we would hope that anyone who's calling themselves anything to do with Agile is in their core responsive to change. I think, unfortunately, whilst that is what those are the behaviors that a successful applicant and the kind of people that we want to hire, those are the behaviors that they show. Unfortunately, a lot of people who work in some Agile roles are actually quite closed-minded. They don't want to respond to change, and they do want to follow the rule book, and they do want to follow a flowchart or a procedure. If this, then do this. If that, then do this. And and almost like a debugging chart, like, and that's not realistic. But we come across lots of people who believe that that's the way they're going to do it, and I think like Leo, you said something about people who think the most important thing is to be right.
Sounds like me.
You were talking about the mentees and how
oh, right. Yeah, no, just when I mentor folks into these kinds of roles, I explain to them that Agile's like 10% of the job, maybe a little bit more. But in a general sense, the thing that's going to cause them to succeed or fail has a lot less to do with how much they know about Agile and a lot more to do with how do you create relationships? Are you able to reach across silos? Are you able to see the larger picture? And a thought that popped in my head, Lucci, when you were talking, is like, if you were hiring a soldier, would you hire someone that only knows how to fight? Is that the definition of what a soldier does? He can shoot things, or she can shoot things, or they can shoot things. Or is a well-rounded person who's capable of dealing whatever gets thrown at them what you're looking for?
I would look for the second option, of course. Yes.
Yeah, and I think that's when we, it's almost like, I don't know whether it's an X factor or whether we could spend time to define it, but like you said, like, is it being right or is it building relationships? But it's not just building relationships. It's also, going back to Lucci's thing, it's about being responsive to change, right? So there's a whole bunch of other factors that go into being the kind of person that I would want to hire. And it's not just about being right or knowing the rules. It's about building relationships. It's about responding to change and being at ease in a flux, in a situation of flux. And I'm sure there's others that are just not top of mind at the moment. And I think to bring this full circle, like, if we're trying to give advice to our viewers, okay, so how do we make sure that we get less of the wrong talent? I think this goes back to my original point, which was, consider the 4 quadrants, consider the behaviors and skills that the person would exhibit in each one of the 4 quadrants. If we're not quite sure with what 4 quadrants are, we've got videos on 4 quadrants, and examples of that. So think about those 4 quadrants in your job posting, and in that way, you're going to end up with less wrong people to weed through to get to the right people for your role.
Thanks, Ben. That's perfect. And if you want a little cheat sheet, or if you're looking to hire roles in the Agile world, or even not in the Agile world, stop by our website, where we have documented every role from every level of scale from a 4-quadrant perspective. So if you're looking for the best qualities you need in a product owner, it's there. If you're looking to be a stakeholder, or looking for a scrum master or a coach or any other kind of a leader, they're all there. So that's integralagile.com, and soon the approach will be on the integralagileapproach.org. We'll post the links below. And thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.